Hi everyone, my name is Edha Gupta. I'm a student activist, and in 2021, I protested the decision to ban over 300 diversity books and resources in my school district of Central York School District. So just to explain a little bit more about my activism specifically, after a decision to ban over 300 diversity resources and books was taken in my school district, which meant that these resources couldn't be used in the classroom or they were taken out of the library, was made, a few students and I started protesting outside the school continuously. So the books on this list ranged from elementary level books to secondary level books. Most of them being elementary, you would see books on this list by Dr. Seuss, but just written in Spanish, or books like Who is Michelle Obama or Who is Sonia Sotomayor. The books on this list also encapsulated stories of like Rosa Parks, or a young Black girl on her journey to loving her hair, or a young Indian girl finding a group of diverse friends that she can surround herself with. So it was really heartbreaking to see these books and resources being taken out of the library so aggressively and without any warning. Students found out from a secondary source, a local news source, and not from the administration or the school board themselves who made the decision. And teachers found out within the first week that school started. So the community was just blindsided by this decision. So us students and advisors found it necessary to immediately take action to initiate change. So right after the decision came out on September 6th, 2021, we planned a school-wide blackout in which all students against the book ban would wear black to show their support for the cause in school. And at that day, after amplifying this message on social media, the turnout was really high, and we actually got a lot of students come to school in full black, showing their support for us. The day after, we started planning daily protests outside the school 15 minutes before school started, with signs like "Education is not indoctrination" and "My voice matters." These protests went on for about 2 weeks. We conducted a community-wide book drive. We talked to the board continuously. There were people in lines trying to talk to the board at weekly school board meetings. We also talked to a lot of local and international media. At this time, we talked to CNN, we also talked to local Fox, we talked to local ABC, so we were getting our word and our message out there for not only the people in our community that were facing this issue, but people around the country. So the amplification of our voices and the support that we had from the community at this time was unreal. And consequently, the ban was reversed 2 weeks later on September 20th, 2021. Outside of student activism, I'm a 19-year-old neuroscience major at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm currently pre-med, and one of my passions, along with the fight for intellectual freedom, is to fight for more equitable and representative care and patient care in medicine. I'm also part of organizations that mentor young women in Pittsburgh called Strong Women, Strong Girls. And I'm also part of the TEDx organization at the University of Pittsburgh that brings in speakers to do conferences every fall and spring, after giving my own TED Talk at the University of Pennsylvania in 2022. I love TEDx and the organization and the impact it can have on people. My most recent project, and definitely the one that excites me the most, is co-founding my organization called Empowered, that works to create a network of student activists across the country that are fighting similar attacks on intellectual freedom and equitable education. These issues of book banning and censorship are not going away anytime soon. In fact, legislation is being introduced to solidify these types of things, which is scary. And as students, we need to protect and take measures to protect our education and our intellectual freedom. We also work to empower those from different organizations or across the country that are working towards the same mission, and we love to empower and amplify the voices of those, especially from marginalized communities. I also went through a lot of microaggressions and racism in my kindergarten to 12 schooling that hindered me on my journey to love myself and to appreciate my identities. I'm Indian American, but I felt at school I could only be American because when I wore my cultural traditional clothes, I would get ridiculed for that. Or when I brought my cultural food to school, people would say it was smelly or disgusting, or people would mock Indian accents, and I just felt that part of me was never going to be seen, appreciated, or heard in my schooling. In the books that I read in the library and in the classes that I had, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. There was no representation for me. And so I wanted to be the blue-eyed blonde girl growing up, and I didn't want to be a brown-skinned, curly-haired Indian girl. So even though it was not in character for me to speak out or to protest or to be outwardly passionate about what I believed in, I knew that I had to take this step to ensure an equitable education for generations to come, because I didn't want those children in marginalized communities to feel underrepresented and unseen and unheard in their own education. I knew the negative impacts that this had on development, and I couldn't let other students go through the same things that I did growing up. I would say my biggest role model and inspiration would have to be my bigger sister. She's always been a pillar of change and advocacy in our household and in the conversations that we have with people every single day. She never shies away from speaking what's on her mind and really advocating for what she believes for. And my motivation to get involved with social activism and to be on the front lines stemmed from her courage growing up to be outspoken and to speak up about things that she's passionate about. So I really look up to her when I need advice or need to seek help about something. Advice I always love to give young people, although I have so much, is that one, failure is inevitable with activism. It is something that you're going to face. And two, prioritize your mental health. When you are so invested and passionate about a purpose and a mission, it is easy to lose yourself in the movement. And although passion is necessary in this line of work and it's absolutely cherished and important, it's also important to value yourself and to prioritize yourself, because if your tank is not full, you cannot help others and you cannot be an advocate for others. And through my history with activism, I was so passionate about it, but at the same time, when I did face those failures and when I did have those lows, I realized how important it was to take that time for myself, where I prioritized myself and my own mental health so that I could go forward to help other people. And I didn't realize before I started activism that failure was an inevitable thing, that it was going to come. When you are an activist, you are fighting a higher power, and those powers are oftentimes really stubborn and, not conducive to change. So when you do face failure in your own fights towards freedom in your own communities, don't see that as defeat, but see that as motivation to keep going, and see that as something that is working. The people on the other side, the higher powers, are seeing you. They're threatened by your power as a young person. So keep going on. You got this. You have a community of people to support you, and I'm really proud of you. I want to say a huge thank you to Etre for providing this platform for me today to amplify my voice. And I want to thank you to whoever tuned in today to learn a little bit more about me and my journey with social activism. It's really important that we keep amplifying voices that are marginalized or not as seen and not as heard. So thank you so much today. I really appreciated doing this.